every where the
Pause that show and look at, you know.
where their money's going, and they're thinking that it's not.
Looks like.
Yeah.
Worth it. And I'm just like,
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting of August 18th, 2022 of the Measure U Citizens Oversight Committee meeting to order. John Paul, roll call, please.
Thank you, Chair. Committee Member Darwin,
here,
Committee Member Clark,
Here.
Committee Member Thomas,
Here.
Committee Member Chenault,
Here.
Chairwoman Cosma.
Here.
All members are present.
Do we have a flag?
Right behind you.
Oh, we do. Okay. And Mr. Clark, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Nomination and election of the Measure U Citizen Oversight Committee Vice Chair. We have a motion for nomination for Vice Chair. Well, I nominate Tammy.
I second.
I kind of do.
She's wide-eyed over here.
Surprise.
Do we need a roll call vote?
Yes, please. So motion by Chairwoman Cosma, second by Committee Member Darwin. Do a roll call now. Committee Member Darwin,
Yes.
Committee Member Clark,
Yes.
Committee Member Thomas,
Yes.
Committee Member Chenault,
Yes.
Chairwoman Cosma.
Yes.
Okay, that motion passes to appoint Committee Member Chenault as Vice Chair.
Thank you. Okay, communication from the public. Anyone who wishes to address the Oversight Committee regarding items listed on the agenda and not on the agenda may do so at this time. Public comments are temporarily listed to 3 minutes.
Correct.
3 minutes. Please state your name when the chairperson calls for public comments. When you are recognized, you may proceed with your comments. The Oversight Committee is prohibited from taking action or discussing any item not appearing on the agenda. A member of the Oversight Committee may take action to direct staff to place a matter of business on a future agenda. John, do we have any e-comments, Zoom?
Chairwoman Cosma, there are no e-comments and no one in person to speak on any items on the agenda.
Okay, thank you. Okay, well, we'll move to consent calendar. All consent calendar items will be acted upon by a single action of the Measure U Oversight Committee unless requested by an individual committee member for separate consideration. Does any member want to pull an item? Okay, do we have a motion to approve the Measure U Oversight Committee meeting minutes of March 7th and June 6th, 2022?
I motion to approve, and I second.
Thank you. Do we need roll call?
Yes, we do. Committee Member Darwin,
Yes.
Committee Member Clark,
Yes.
Committee Member Thomas,
Yes.
Committee Member Chenault,
Yes.
Chairwoman Cosma.
Yes,
That motion passes to approve the consent calendar 5-0.
and moving to discussion, action items 7A, Measure U Public Safety Department's update, City Manager / Chief Eddie Cruz.
Thank you for the short notice, but I thought it was very important. I really want to do it sooner because whenever there's a change or anything, I think it's important for our Measure U Oversight Committee to be aware and hear it directly from us. So I wanted to do it sooner because things are happening. We're coming to election season and things like that. So I just want to cover our updates. Some of it's very similar that we provided at the budget. We're just moving forward. But I know that there was questions that were asked last time that I want to address now and that I think that are important and updates for the near future. So I'll begin. And for those that, I know we've done the background oversight committee I've read this before, but for those that are online and not here with us today, I'll read it out loud verbatim. The Citizens Oversight Committee was established to independently review and comment on the Measure U expenditures plan for enhancing public safety services within the city prior to City Council's consideration and adoption of the Measure U expenditure plan. The Citizens Oversight Committee shall review the expenditure plan to ensure Measure U tax proceeds are used exclusively to pay for costs associated with the Citizens Oversight Committee, the independent audit, and funding police protection and crime suppression services, fire protection and suppression services, and 911 paramedic services within the city. The Citizens Oversight Committee shall meet at least twice each calendar year, and more frequently if necessary to discharge the responsibilities of the committee. Resolution 4703 and 4731, the proceeds of the tax may be expended on any and all regular and special expenses incurred for the operation and the provision of public safety services within the city in response to mutual and automatic aid agreements, including but not limited to wages, benefits, and deferred compensation for police and fire personnel, and the pro rata shares of each such cost for other city personnel that support the police and fire services within the city. The purchase, operation, and maintenance of vehicles and equipment, including repairs, fuel and maintenance, operation, maintenance, repair, and retrofitting of existing property, buildings, improvements, and other facilities necessary for police or fire purposes. Risk management and legal services in defense of claims and legal actions against the city and public safety personnel training, licensing, and certification of police and fire personnel. And for utilizing contractors, subcontractors, consultants, and professional services directly related to enhancing police and fire services. That each fiscal year, the tax proceeds shall be allocated 2/3 to the City of Hammett Police Department and 1/3 to the City of Hammett Fire Department. Fiscal year 22-23 Measure U budget, as was brought up, being ratified, 2/3 to the City of Hammett Police Department. The total for Measure U 22-23 was 15 million. The 2/3 to the Police Department was $10 million appropriated, and 1/3 to the Fire Department is $5 million appropriated. Measure U Oversight Committee Public Safety Updates. We're going to go forward and have Chief Sell begin with reviewing the updates for the Fire Department. I'll cover the Police Department and any future Measure U updates.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you. It's great to be here with you guys again. That doesn't feel like too long ago, huh? That's a good thing though. So if we could start off with our first slide, please. So it's really important. We really wanted to stress the fact that the city's strategic plan priority goals, everything that we do when it comes to Measure U, it touches every single one of these goals, which is awesome, right? So, you know, not only are we getting the benefit of what Measure U was intended to do, but it touches all these goals. So with quality of life, you know, certainly any sort of enhancements to public safety are going to improve the quality of life of our citizens. And not only that, but of our employees, right? The folks that are actually the boots on the ground that are affected by, you know, having the right tools and equipment. So we're really proud of that and appreciate the support. Partnership and collaboration, certainly what we're doing in public safety. So I'll give an example of where it's not only Measure U that we're tapping into, but it's also ARPA, it's also grant funding. We're literally looking for every single funding source we can. So we're going to have a mobile command unit that we're basically going to be working on together that's actually funded by ARPA, for example. Right. So we're making sure that we're stewards, you know, of the community's expectations and public trust when it comes to just, you know, Measure U and how important it is. But having said that, we still are looking for other ways of enhancing public safety even more. Organizational effectiveness, community engagement, and economic opportunity. One big example of that is the enhancements that we're doing to our Fire Prevention Bureau in particular. So when the chief just, you know, read one of those prior slides, it talks about fire suppression and fire protection, right? So part of fire protection is fire prevention. So clearly, you know, we're pretty proud of the fact that we are and the process of redoing a lot of forms that needed to be updated or created, building a database of fire prevention here in the city. I was just fortunate to have a tough decision of having to offer only 2 fire prevention officer candidates jobs, but we had basically we were able to create a list of 7 people. So that was a nice, problem to have. So we have, 2 that are going to be coming on really soon and being able to kind of hit the ground running, which is exactly what we were looking for. We were looking for people that had a lot of experience in inspections. And so as we move forward with a lot of these programs, we're able to do that and utilize them to the best of our ability. Economic opportunity, right? So that means many different things, but clearly the better fire prevention that we have, the more attractive that we're going to be to businesses, right? The more we're going to be able to educate our own community about, we had a recent fire that was basically the culprit was the kitchen, right? Somebody left something on the stove, and kitchen fires in particular are incredibly common, right? Well, if we obviously are using, some of the Measure U resources as to educating the public on the hazards that are in the home, right? A lot of people sometimes don't know how easy it is, frankly, to, have fires start. So all these different things that we're doing are strategic plan priorities, but they fall right in line with, the using Measure U for appropriate causes. Another couple of things real quick, and we'll move on. I also wanted to touch on with community engagement. Our new emergency services coordinator, Jay Krajine, he's done an outstanding job in reaching out to homeowners associations and different groups. And if you haven't met him yet, I'm sure that you will at an upcoming community event. But he is making sure that CERT is, back on the map, and that we're getting out there and we're letting folks know that, we're looking for partners in the community to really, make sure that we're doing that and we're more engaged than ever before. So I'm really proud of everything that he's been doing, and our website, the fire department website, is actually updated with his information as well, just so you're aware. Fire Explorers, so we continue to add, that's also something that was a strategic plan, one of the action items within the goals. And so both public safety, PD, and fire, we have robust programs that continue to expand. And so we're really proud of that. And then in fact, that next step is, we're doing the first high school first responder pathway program that actually starts October 20th with kids in the class at Alessandro High School. So we're really, really proud of that. And that's just really that next step into that pathway of what we're doing and when we think about community engagement and just organizational effectiveness, because part of that is obviously making sure that we're sustainable and that we're planning for the future. Thank you. So you guys have seen this slide before, but this talks about our fiscal year 22-23 funding sources. And we can just on the right-hand side, you can see general fund, Measure U fund balance, CFD, ARPA, AMR penalty fees with a total budget of $19,388,900. And this, nothing changed from the last meeting when we presented this at the budget. And then again, just what we've been able to do is improve the fire department's bureaus and our administrative support. So this is something that we're really proud of, that we were able to initiate here within this last year. And so now we have a much better handle on our organizational effectiveness, span of control, and just better oversight. And we're getting better by the day. So we have our fire administration, operations and emergency medical services, fire prevention and all hazard services, and also our support services bureaus. Sworn staff. So we can see, we can just move down, we can go to the far right, fire chief, deputy chief, anything that's in red is highlighted because these are additions now. So I think we've talked about this before, where a deputy fire chief didn't exist here for probably at least the last 12 to 15 years. So we're really proud of the fact that we were able to get support for that, and that's actually general fund. And again, we talked about the fact that that we're very aware of making sure that we're balancing what we do with general fund and also Measure U when it comes to FTEs. Fire battalion chief, those three positions are funded under Measure U. Fire captains, you can see is still at 15, fire engineers at 15. Firefighter paramedics, that number is now at 18. So we did grow by 3 FTEs. And that was to add staffing to our paramedic squad and to help reduce overtime, right? And so that's a big deal, is making sure that we can help reduce that overtime budget. Like I just mentioned, the fire prevention officers. So now we have 2, which is great. And those folks should be online sometime in September, in early September, we anticipate. And really what they're going to be able to do is generate, inspection fees, frankly, that are going to be a good thing for the community from the side of looking at it from the prevention side of the house, and even our business community. These are industry standard, things that will strengthen. We're going to be participating in what's called the ISO, the Insurance Service Office's rating. And Hammond hasn't gone through that in 2004. It's going to be a good thing that we're able to actually update things now and show all the things that we're actually building up and enhancing, with the goal of actually lowering our score, which means lower insurance rates for our businesses and residents down the road. Next slide, please. Administrative staff. So again, far right corner, emergency services coordinator. We talked about Mr. Jay Cruzine, and he's doing a fantastic job. Our EMS coordinator, that's Melissa Schmidt. And so what she does is she's our nurse educator and trains our paramedics, make sure that the EMT and paramedic licenses are up to date and that they have the appropriate level of training that's required. Administrative assistant 1, if you don't know, that's Pam Hainig, and office specialist. We were able to actually take our part-time person and then make her full-time, which is going to increase our better customer service, right? Answering the phone at fire. We're also working on it. The city manager has a goal of 5-day-a-week customer service. So what our plan is on the fire side is, once the deputy chief is on board, the deputy chief will work Tuesday through Friday, and also have one of our administrative assistants that'll be Tuesday through Friday. And so, and we're looking at doing the same thing with our fire prevention bureau. So we Monday through Friday, because stuff happens on Fridays. So I certainly share his vision in making sure that we have coverage. Management analyst, I'm really excited about this. Actually, we have interviews next Tuesday for management analyst. It's a new position to the fire department. I believe it's going to be incredibly valuable in terms of just, budget crunching, obviously data, staff reports, adding that administrative capacity that frankly we haven't had. So, JP doesn't have to call me every day, even though he's the nicest guy, to deal with. So it makes it easy, but that's going to be a big deal. And I'm actually in awe of the candidate pool. I mean, it's incredible. I think everybody almost had a master's degree and even one doctorate. I was like, holy cow, So that's a good problem to have, and hopefully we have a really good city employee that's going to really help public safety as and we view this, by the way, as, it's helping the entire city. It's not just, a silo of fire, silo of PD. We talk daily, and we share information to make sure that, the city overall is ran effectively. Next slide, please.
Question on that.
Yes, sir.
Does that also include grant writing?
Yes, absolutely.
Backfilling?
Very good question. Absolutely. And that's one of the biggest, in fact, that's going to be a question, yes.
Okay.
Okay, so capital equipment. So Measure U accomplishments. We've been able to, because of Measure U, replace 3 of our aging fire apparatus. And so engine 1 is currently in service at Station 1 downtown. That's a KME fire engine that we were able to do that push-in ceremony in April. And that was pretty awesome. And the good news is, like we mentioned in a community event that the chief and I did earlier today, we're going to get to do that 2 more times when the other 2 fire engines arrive. Unfortunately, because of supply chain, issues and the workforce, it's everywhere, right? It's worldwide. We're not going to see those other 2 fire engines for another year. So trust me, we keep, calling and bribing and, hey, put him in the front of the line, but, so hopefully though, our current fleet though, the good news is the fleet's doing a good job and we're trying to stay on top of making sure that these aging engines are able to meet the needs of the citizens until we get those additional fire engines. But that's a big deal though, being able to do that and knowing that that's coming. Upgrading our VHF radio system, again, radios and just communication for the fire department, just like our police partners, is incredibly important. I always tell people that, you can almost, which tool is more important, your radio or your hose, or, it's one of those things like it has equal value and certainly very important to communicate information and get more help. A fire training center construction, we're super proud, and there's a lot of progress that's happening at the new fire training center site at Station 4. If you ever have a chance to drive by there, over there on Costin, right by the airport, right behind Fire Station 4 is where the training center is going to be. They're already pouring the concrete, and they're also working on the actual building that's going to be the building that our firefighters are able to train on and do burn training and just different simulations in there. So everything is on track for that. So that's a huge Measure U accomplishment that we're certainly grateful for.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So we're gonna do that over there by the airport, but there's a lot of open land over there. Just like I guess a citizen question is that we're dealing with fire and you guys are lighting, lighting fires, making fires. What's the safety of that? Like, because, like that airplane that overshot the airport and landed in that field, which isn't that far away, and our wind, and as dry as it is with no water, and I have seniors that live over there in those mobile homes that back right up to that airport. What are the safety precautions to that?
So, I mean, there's many safety precautions. So first of all, even though, a dirty little secret is firefighters love fire, right? So that's the irony is that, wait, you want me to put this out,
Yeah.
Right. So, having said that, there is, there's a fire hydrant, obviously, that's there. The fires that are set are very, very controlled, right? And in fact, it even takes like a cadre of 9 people when you do, there has to be forms that are filled out. Safety officer that's there. I actually just attended one in Riverside at their, to see our HEMET recruits go through some live fire training that was a couple weeks ago. So it's a very controlled environment, and we're talking about fire engine that's there with the pump engaged, with a hose line deployed, ready to go. So there's, I never like to say zero. Right. But there is very little, threat of anything getting outside of that training center.
Now, are you gonna post that when it happens, or is there gonna be something out there because you don't have a lot of seniors then calling in going, oh my God, there's a fire, or we see smoke, or?
So that's a good question. And yes, so we'll do a couple things. Having come from the Long Beach Fire Department, the training center was smack dab in a neighborhood next to a school. I mean, I used to actually scratch my head and say like, wow, but it had been there, since the 40s, for a long time. So what they would do is they would go out to the neighborhood and distribute flyers. So the neighborhood, the immediate neighborhood knew there were going to be fires, right? So they were prepared, to your point. And then in our dispatch center, will also be aware of it as well. So if people are calling, they know that this is a training fire.
Right. Okay.
So, yeah.
I just am foreseeing that. I drive around town every day, and even too, when they do those controlled burns, like up in Big Bear, and it's out in the middle of nowhere and people see smoke, and the next thing you know, they think the whole, mountain's on fire, and it's a controlled burn.
I mean,
so.
Look, it's a fair point. I know that, I think especially in this day and age that we live in, I think after post 9/11, I know for me, and I'm sure for Chief Poost, our situational awareness, is heightened all the time, right? nothing's the same anymore. And so, yeah, we'll do everything on our side to make sure folks are aware.
Yeah, okay, because I just foresee that happening with all the seniors here, that smoke.
It's
and that's it.
it's a good thing to bring up.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Utility vehicles, we were able to purchase 3, which are incredibly helpful for, that's how our fire prevention officers get around. That's how our emergency services coordinator gets around. So they have that ability to have those vehicles that we need. Personal protective equipment, over 100 sets of gear. This is a big deal, right? This is the actual turnout gear that our firefighters wear every day. So being able to have NFPA compliant gear that's up to date. Typically, turnout gear expires after 10 years. And so just, for liability reasons and for also for health, right? Obviously firefighters are exposed to carcinogens and everything else. So what we try to do is have firefighters the ability to have a backup set of turnouts. So they have an older set. So if they go to a structure fire, they're able to immediately take that bad stuff off, right? Get it deconned and then put another fresh set of gear on, right? So we can try to limit our, as much as we can. Unfortunately, it's just one of those, aspects of the job, but anywhere we can minimize the risk to our people, we're going to try to do that. Adding a 6 dispatch console. And so that's something that continues to be a work in progress. I know that we have another meeting coming up soon with Dale over at PD and making sure that PD and fire, that we're working towards our goal of EMD, emergency medical dispatch. It's certainly a big deal to us, and we want to do what we can to make sure that the right resources are going to all the calls that we have here in the city. Next slide, please. So future plans, enhance fire prevention services and community risk reduction. So I kind of touched on this earlier in how it just directly goes into the strategic plan, right? And so community risk reduction is a phrase that is being utilized in a lot of places throughout the country, especially in California. And what it really means is, is finding out all the different ways that we can partner with the community and reduce risk, right? And that might mean, and because of what we're doing in terms of vegetation management and weed abatement, that could mean because we're actually implementing fire inspections now and reducing the amount of fires we get. So all those different things, they go into community risk reduction. So we want to do everything that we can to minimize property loss and certainly the loss of life.
Would that include bail enhancement on certain arsonists that get out quickly?
Yeah, that's a law enforcement DA question.
Law enforcement took care of it. It's more the DA, yes.
So that's good. Yeah, when folks like that are taken care of for sure. All hazards incident response vehicles. So a medic patrol concept that allows for quick medical response and small fire suppression. And so this is going to be a medic patrol. Many communities in Riverside County have similar vehicles. It makes it a lot more effective. So for example, the current squad is a pickup truck, basically with a camper shell on it, and it has their paramedic equipment. So with this next evolution of a vehicle that has a pump and it has a little bit of water on it and hose. So now that 2-person crew could actually put out a trash fire, they could put out a small brush fire, and they can actually, put smaller fires out before they actually get big. So that's actually going to be a good thing. Menifee has one, Canyon Lake has one, County Fire has several. So this is not a new concept, to the fire service. It's something that's going to make them a lot more effective in what they're doing.
So is this a truck that's got more like utility boxes on it with slip-on unit?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Communications upgrades. So we're expanding our current communications capabilities. Also PSEC capable mobile radios and all fire apparatus. So we're really trying to do a lot of things in terms of technology and innovation right now. We have a program that's called Tablet Command that's coming. So that's going to give our company officers in the field and our battalion chiefs the ability to run an incident on an iPad, which is really cool. I kind of thought of this in my sleep like 10 years ago. And somebody beat me to it and making a lot of money. But it's gonna be really cool, because now you're able to actually plug in, we utilize what's called the incident command system. So picture that we're on scene of a structure fire and we have our units, much like somebody conducting an orchestra, right? You have your incident commander that's placing all these pieces. Now we can do that and use technology. So when the first arriving captain, they begin that process. And then once the battalion chief arrives on scene, now they're able to transfer it literally from their iPad to the battalion chief. And it makes it just a lot quicker. And, I had to bend over on, right. And, which is fine. It works too, but it's going to be kind of cool to utilize technology. So when we talk about communications upgrades with PSEC and mirroring what law enforcement is doing, the more that we can all talk, I always found it, and you would think after 9/11, where they found so many problems in PD and fire not being able to communicate, that we would be further down the road. And unfortunately, we're not, And so with active shooters and with all the different things that we have to do together, I know that Chief Poust and I it's totally on our radar to make sure that we're doing more training together, that we're, on board when it comes to communicating with one another. It's a big deal. Emergency medical services technology. So again, utilizing those same iPads and they could actually be utilized, for patient care when we do our electronic patient care reports. I'm an old school paramedic. I use the, forms and paperwork and all this stuff. And so it's kind of cool for these, you see them whip around the iPad. I'm like, whoa, so it's pretty cool. Apparatus replacement. So we're going to be looking at our truck company as approaching 15 years. And that's the ladder truck, right? I think we went over this before, the difference of an engine and a ladder truck. You guys know, right? The big, long ladder truck that's got the guy driving in the back. So, yeah, we want to make sure that we have a truck company as Hemet continues to expand and develop, and we have all this growth. We have 3 million square feet in commercial tilt-ups that are coming. We have hotels and just different buildings. So we really want to make sure that we have the appropriate tools.
Can I, hold on, to go back to the emergency medical services.
Mhm.
So having that iPad and being able to put in all that information, are you going to be able to send that to like Hemet Hospital? Like if you have somebody in the ambulance and send that information, that what your paramedics get, like what is happening to them right now, and you're able to send that ahead. So by the time they get there, that information's there, and that's going to free up the paramedics to not have to stand there and do paperwork or then explain again what's going on with the patient.
So in theory, yes, right?
Okay.
So when you say stand there, then you have me at, so just because they bump it to whatever the receiving hospital is, that doesn't mean that they're not gonna, what we call hold the wall, right? It depends on bed availability.
Right. Well, I mean, I'm not talking about like pulling up and then slamming on the brakes and they just go sliding out and you keep going. I mean, and the bed just rolls out and they end where they end, but
Yes, are they going to,
Yeah.
Yes, it enables the receiving hospital to already have that information.
right. That's what I'm just saying. So it makes it kind of a little bit faster transition.
Yes.
So then on to the next emergency as
Right.
opposed to then re-explaining everything. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Perfect.
Yep. And then engine companies, that'll be on our radar. But what we were also able to do in this last budget was to restore our vehicle replacement fund. And we wanted to make sure that we were doing our due diligence as well about making sure that on the general fund that we had that in our budget. So we weren't just obviously, just focusing on Measure U only, right? Hazardous materials response trailer. We have an aging trailer that's currently housed at Fire Station 1. And so that will need to be replaced. Hazardous materials calls are those are those infrequent calls though that tend to be like we just had on the 215 freeway, right? They tend to be tremendous just in scope. It's like a newsworthy event, unfortunately, when they do happen. So I am proud of the fact that we have highly trained firefighters that are cross-trained in hazardous materials as well. All right.
I think we need to add to the budget in a cost in on, was it Station 4?
Yeah.
You got that nice indoor, we could put pickleball courts in there.
Ah,
Indoor pickleball courts, and the firefighters would play, and then you could have community members come play pickleball indoors. while they're waiting.
I
for
like
their
your
call.
thinking. I like your thinking. Hey, I don't know if you guys have ever seen fire stations in Orange County or LA County. I mean, I wouldn't even, you start, they have racquetball courts in them. You're just like, what?
All that beautiful space, you can use it.
Thank you. Thanks, Chief Sel.
Yes,
But
sir.
I'm like the fire department, we're not trying to play pickleball.
Oh, boy. Oh.
Sure, when we buy our vehicles, we make sure they run, so we don't have to push them.
Yeah,
So anyways, I know you heard this. I just want to cover some of the stuff like we did at the budget, so you know where the funding sources are. And our general fund for the police department is 23,200,000. Measure U is 9,993,000 for this budget. You're designated 10 million. So just a few thousand off that we can cover for any type of project, but that's still in our fund balance. Measure U fund balance, we used 1.8 million. Community Facilities District, the CFDs, 660,000. And those are ongoing that we receive yearly. American Rescue Plan Act, that's the ARPA funding that we received one time that has to be spent by 2024. Police Department received 340,000, which is a total of 36 million to run our operation. Now I put the 9 programs designated in the PD budget. Remember previously we had 14, doesn't mean we eliminated services. I just combined those since we didn't have people connected to those programs. And I thought like canines would be better suited in patrols since that's what they work anyways and things like that. So our 9 programs: administration, patrol, investigation, rocks, traffic, community services, records management, dispatch, and technology services. Things that, so you're aware, and like I said, when the funding comes, I don't look at it and this is Measure U, these people are Measure U, this is general fund. When I do my budget, just designates what I know where my money's going, where the funding's going, and I just allocate it to know exactly for which position and what we purchased. But it just commingles as it does because my total budget is 39 million. Measure U funded position is 1 police captain, 1 police lieutenant, 3 police sergeants, 19 police officers, 1 public media officer, which my public information social media officer is that title right there, 1 support services manager, 5 community service officers, 1 property and evidence tech, 1 public safety dispatcher, 3 records specialists, 1 public safety operator, and as well as fire, they also have Measure U, I think 2 dispatchers and 1 operator. So they also fund in our communication center, which we run together as a team. I also listed our programs for FY 2021 and 21-22, which has increased with officers, which I'll list on the second page and show what we've done to improve that. And that was expanding our community service officers, expanding boots on the ground, making those special teams 7 days a week, rocks and traffic, which I'll explain more when I'm sure there'll be questions on that and where we're at. Okay, our sworn staff for this year, and I also have designated the previous years. So for police corporal, if you look at the red box, those are in addition to past fiscal year staff. So we went from 1 police corporal, from 6 to 7. That's 1 addition. Police investigator, we added 2. Police officer, we added 1, which is a total of 82 sworn. Last year, we're at 78. Professional staff. We've added, we have actually, this was just a change due to job description and added duties. So we are management analyst assistant when we changed to management analyst. So that's just a staff, no really addition to that. Professional staff continued. Dispatch supervisors is very important, as I mentioned last time, to oversee dispatch and make sure that we're providing the appropriate customer service, especially as we're preparing for EMD, emergency medical dispatching. It's really important to have somebody in there. So we added 2 dispatch supervisors, public safety office specialists. We added 2. That's for our special teams to do trespass 602 trespass letters on our nuisance teams, help them organize in our investigation team, make sure they're ready for any court cases. They're handling all interviews with the DA's office, anything with sexual abuse, things like that. So we're making sure that there's enough information for our people to be at certain places and move forward with those cases that are very critical. Investigation, temporary part-time, this is something different, just like Chief Sell mentioned, we're trying to be innovative. We have a lot of cases that are important to our community, but yet they're not high on the priority, what we have to get done on violent crimes, but we still need to address it. So we get some temporary part-time investigators in there to handle that cases. So we don't give an individual a call or a victim a call a year and a half down the line saying, okay, we got to your case. This is to expedite those cases and make sure that we do it in a timely manner.
You're using retirees?
Yeah. So I'm sure that will expand. We're also looking in the future just to make it a civilianized investigator, maybe college students and things like that. Trying to change it up. I mean, those things are trying to be creative and innovative. So it's very expensive, like I said, to hire a sworn officer. If there's some certain crimes that we could handle, and also that's part of our vision to bring people on as sworn and maybe recruit them out of those positions.
One other question. Somebody had asked me whether there was going to be an addition or if it's totally filled for evidence tech. Is your evidence techs, are they pushing their limit on work right now? Are you going to be looking for additionals?
We just added one. In fact, they started last week. So we have 2 property and evidence techs,
Okay.
which is good for our department.
So they're doing both.
Yeah, they handle all the evidence locker and anything. If we're cross training to do crime scene technician, so just to give them experience, but we do have a crime scene technician.
Okay.
But we are doing cross training, so they're available to do that. Because we have one crime scene technician, and if that person decides to take a day off, we need to have somebody available to do that. But we also, when we talk about strategic goals and strategic plans, collaboration is something that I think is very important. And I think in Western Riverside, we do a great job in collaborating with our other agencies. That's with evidence, property and evidence. That's with our SWAT team. We have a Tri-City SWAT team. We work very close with Marietta and Menifee. This initiated in 1998 when we started with Marietta, and now we continued with Menifee. What that does, and it helps out with resources. It's difficult for a department our size to actually have a team to be well-oiled and efficient, to have a team of 34. But we're able to do that with this Tri-City team. They get great training. They're able to help out. We've had assistance from Menifee. We reciprocate by helping them out too, if they need a crime scene technician. It's just, for us, it's a resource multiplier. And I think it's really important to keep that partnership and collaboration. We do that with sweeps that we have out here. Those are operations. We bring people. It could be a traffic sweep. Where I'm sure you've seen Menifee, Marietta, the Sheriff's Department will hit the corridor. I know we got to do more of them because I know that's an expectation from our community. But those are important things: collaboration and doing innovative things outside of what we used to do. And I mentioned before too is I remember back when I was on patrol and the decision to bring out a CSO or a community service officer, it was like, well, I could do this job. You're taking my job away. But now it's very wanted because it actually allows, and it's helpful for us because the cost is not as expensive to pay for a full-time employee that's a sworn employee. And that's the bottom line. And I've told you that before. It's expensive. But if I could keep those sworn employees out doing police work like they should, and the same as the fire chief, he'll tell you, if you have his firefighters doing what they need to do instead of having someone doing fire prevention or something like that, it's beneficial to us. We get more accomplished and they're dedicated. So, and it goes with simple things, and you know how it is. If we have a priority 1 call, something, when I say priority 1 is a in progress call, everybody is going. But if you have a CSO handling the burglary at your house, there's no need for that person to go. And they're doing a good job to complete that investigation. And that's what we want. We want that good customer service and we want a complete investigation. Otherwise, the officer's not gonna be back for another 5 hours and you're stuck there. So things that we've done to be innovative and I don't really think it's really innovative. It's just probably the smart way to do it. You know, if you think about it, why use that resource when you can use another resource? So hopefully I answered your question.
Yeah, my first department, we had 5 of us officers that were cross-trained for crime scene. And so we got comp time for on-call. So we would take on-call for, I think, 5 days in a row, and you got so many hours just for being on call. But if you got called out, you either got the overtime or somebody took your place.
Yeah.
But so many times it was so beneficial because you'd have a major scene start and that officer who was carrying his gear could secure and get things started before the main tech was able to roll out of bed, go down, get the truck, the van and everything, bring it in. And it was well worth the money, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Just, you know, we always have to take advantage of different types of ways of doing it and move forward. And, you know, we've been through ups and downs here and you know, I felt those because I've been here for so long, but it's always, you know, you got to have those innovative ideas because we still have to move forward. We still have to provide service no matter what it is. So, and it's important. And I'm sure that's what you have to keep going. So you're going to make those
The
changes.
DA's office liked it because the quality of our evidence went up. Because there were 5 of us
Oh, yeah.
that got the training, so we were making sure, but within our squad, we were giving impromptu trainings too. So the quality of it all of it went up.
Definitely. All right, future projects and technology upgrades, expanding rocks. When I say things that we've done, obviously I haven't hit my mark for 7 days a week, but we put special OT operations out there. Now we're doing teams are going out there. I think it's twofold. You know, I have some salary savings, but they're willing to go out there as team building. And on those days that the rocks aren't out there, they're actually handling that. So they're working with rocks. Sergeant Cunningham would give them, hey, we need to hit these locations on our days off. Make sure you're staying on there. So this is a different way that, you know, I don't like to promise, hey, we're moving 7 days and this is our second fiscal year that, you know, I was saying that I have to get there. And if this is the way in the time being until I hire all those individuals to get there, we're going to do it this way. And they're enjoying it because it gets mundane. They're working patrol every day. So they're out there, they're doing what we need to do and it's helping us out. And, you know, my vision is coming hopefully to fruition in that sense, at least for me. We have people out there. Expanding traffic grant opportunities. We do have traffic grant opportunities that we use, and we have actually people that are in different positions that use this grant to work overtime. So I have people that promoted out of traffic. If you're a traffic officer, you're allowed to ride a motorcycle. They'll jump on a motorcycle, do traffic on their days off. So I'm getting there to that 7 days. That's not Measure U, that's not general fund, that's traffic grants that we're using. So it's really good to have that out there in those opportunities. Expand community engagement. Obviously, that's something that's very important. And that's getting out. And just like this group, I thought it was important to come out here and give you the information rather than wait to the end of the year or you hear it from our website or through the rumor mill. So bringing you here and giving you updates is really important, but also going out, myself and Chief Sell are out at the Prince of Peace Church and giving up updates regarding the city, regarding the fire department, regarding the police department. We have to get there. The biggest thing they ask is Measure U. That's always a hot topic. What are we doing? So it's important for them to know exactly what we're doing or what we're not doing. You know, it's they need to know and where we're at. So it's important just to provide them the facts and answer their questions. Expand flock community cameras. They're all up and running. We added 4 all our surrounding agencies, the county, San Jacinto, Actually, every agency in Riverside County has moved towards Flock, so we all share information. Remember, I like to say it because I'm proud, we started the Flock program here in Emmett and expanded all the way across Riverside County, every city, every county.
Those
area.
little cameras on top of the lights, the little.
No, those are for emergency services. The cameras, I'm not going to explain how, but they're all over the city strategically placed, but you'll see them. They almost look like a old parking meter in a sense. They're oblong. Yeah, they're strategically placed here. It's hard to see them because I always try to find, because I know I explain the technology, it automatically hits our MDBs. I'll have a picture of the car, the vehicle, the direction it's going in seconds. So I know where these are. So when I'm driving by, I'm trying to figure, well, where are they actually sitting at? Because they could be on poles, or they could be on a light pole. They're just all over the place. We have 40 of them throughout the city. So, and then we're sharing those ingress and egress with the county and the city of San Jacinto. So we have all those areas covered to solve crime, or if we're looking for somebody that has committed a crime. We don't have the time to actually see everybody going through there, but if you're wanted because your license plate says so, or if you committed a crime and we have letters of the license plate or numbers, we're able to use that technology to locate that vehicle in which direction. But now we get to locate them throughout the whole county and other counties. We share with San Bernardino, and I'm not too sure how many Flock cameras are being used in San Diego. But it's a great resource, and for the price of that solution, it's unbeatable. Business crime prevention program, moving towards. We've had a couple business meetings where I would like to expand that and actually have districts to meet and have our ROCKS team come in and provide information. I just had a business meeting about a month ago and a follow-up. I was surprised that our 602 trespass letters, our business owners have not been educated on that. And then that's a lack of communication with the police department to our business owners. So we're moving towards to rectify that. And things are, when businesses come in town, we should have a whole packet for them. What resources does the city have? What resources does the fire department have? And what resources the police department have? Every department, public works, everything, we have those resources, and it should be given. It could be a QR code, whatever we need, just to make sure that they know what we can do to help them with their moving forward with safety, with permitting, everything else. So those are things that we're moving towards, and just having those two meetings, which isn't set to which my vision is with all the districts, but it allows us to see, hey, it's very much needed. And we've been lacking this for years. A lot of things we've been lacking. I'm grateful to have a partner like Chief Sell. He's, I got to pull the reins on him, but it's better to pull the reins than to push him. But he's innovative. He's willing to make those changes. And it's great. It's a breath of fresh air to know that, hey, and it's not just the police department, fire department. We have some great department heads that really want to push things forward. And we have a lot of things going on in the city, as you know, with development, that we have to make those changes. We have to be more responsive to developers, to businesses coming in. And that's what we're trying to do. But this is just showing that this is something that opened my eyes that we weren't doing a good job, and we absolutely weren't. So this is to improve that. Improve public safety communications center. We've added that 6th console. We're adding the dispatch supervisors. It's impressive how, as Chief Sell said, we are getting more applicants and the non-sworn positions. That it's amazing. We still struggle. We talk all the time regarding sworn positions and the difficulties of retaining those individuals. But really, I'm amazed how many people are actually coming out to apply in all the positions. We have community service officers. It's amazing that we had at least close to 60 applicants, and that's something that we haven't seen before. Dispatch supervisor from all over, where it's been a long time since we actually hired a lateral dispatcher. It's always been entry level, but we're having lateral dispatchers apply here. Well, it has to do with, I think, the new negotiations that were completed during the last fiscal year. Now we're comparable to surrounding agencies, which we should be, and that's bringing people here now. This is what I put together because questions that have always been asked, and if you ask me a question, I want you to have it, and I don't like the numbers, but they're there. Okay, and I have nothing to hide, so I thought it was nice. It was good for you to see it because these are questions that you ask, and we need to keep it open so you're aware and ask those difficult questions so I could answer how we're moving forward. But PD personnel hired, we had 35 sworn officers that were hired since the inception of Measure U. So that's 35, and we started in December of 2016, if you guys recall. So we didn't wait. We did a startup. So it was 35 sworn. Now, keep in mind, we had if I did the addition of how many people we had in backgrounds, how many people that we put to the academy and didn't make it, those aren't counted in here because there's a lot that entails that. We got to make sure that we're hiring. We can't lower our standards and make sure we're hiring the right people. So there's a lot more that went through the application process, but these are the numbers that actually we hired. 28 non-sworn support staff were hired since the inception of Measure U. PD personnel separated from employment. Since the inception, we had 45 sworn officers separated employment. That's for many different reasons, lateral into a different department, retirement or termination, things like that. We had 34 non-sworn separated employment since the inception of Measure U. Again, the same things, retirement, moved to a different department, or decided some of them actually moved into a sworn position here at our department, which is always positive. I don't have those numbers here, but off the top of my head, I could say we had five explorers or CSOs that became CSOs that are now sworn peace officers here in our department, which is great to know. And as I mentioned before, we get our best committed, loyal employees from this valley because they're vested in this valley and they want to stay in this valley. So it's been great to watch them grow and take on those positions. Now, total PD personnel hired, just to break it down, this is the total non-sworn, sworn 63, and total PD personnel separated from employment 79. Big difference. Big difference.
Doesn't that still give us a negative though?
Yeah, that's a big negative, but it's there. That's the number. It's unfortunate, but those are the true numbers. Okay, State of Hemet upcoming ballot measure. All right, the upcoming ballot measure for November to ensure that Measure U does not expire and continues to support public safety and other critical city services. It will be coming up in November. And this was a decision that was voted on by City Council 5-0 vote on July 12th, 2022. And that's to move forward, removing the expiration of Measure U sales tax. City entered into a contract with OPR Communications. That's a firm that handles measures, campaigns. It's an education firm, and we entered into a contract with them. This is a Measure H assignment letter we found out last week. So the measure will be called Measure 8. That's a Hemet transaction use tax continuation measure. So it's not an added tax, as you know, it's to get rid of the sunset clause. But I wanted to put it out there, and I wanted this group to know first what we're doing. I'm sure that either you watched the council meeting or you heard things out there. I wish we could have had a meeting sooner. I wasn't there for that meeting. But even though I knew about it, just a lot of things were going on. And next time I'll be mindful to have these meetings sooner than later. Measure H, the city will be providing non-advocacy information, education, public education about Measure H. And that will be with direct mailers, websites, and of course, any questions that the public has from myself or for Chief Sell. These are just facts. We are not advocating either way. We cannot do that. So we're going to provide facts. That being said, that's all I have. And we're here to answer any questions, but this was purely to update you what's going on with our departments and the new ballot measure H.
So, it'll be on this November's ballot. But 5 years in advance? I mean, why did they do it so far in advance? Because if it expires in 2027 or in 2022, why do they do it so soon?
Well, my belief is this is something that was planned prior to, and I've been involved with Measure U since the inception, was to give it a go beforehand. The belief that this may be a right time. We don't know exactly what the economy or is going to be in 5 years. The decision to move forward, people feel that this is the right time. Our job is to provide public education. This is a vote by the city council, by the board. There's going to be obviously advocacy groups out there, and I could say now that maybe some of you are involved in that or maybe approached, but there's other citizens that are involved as well. And those are the advocacy groups that are out there advocating for Measure H and the continuation of Measure U.
So is that Measure H, is it supposed to be like a permanent type?
Yes, it's removing the expiration or what we've always mentioned in the past year, sunset clause. So it'll be just a continuation of Measure U.
Has the actual measure been drafted yet, or is it public yet, or is it still being drafted?
It's still being drafted.
Okay, so it does have a different, it's Measure H, right?
Yes.
So how does that affect, or does it affect Measure U? In other words, if Measure H is not voted through, is Measure U still be there for another 5 years?
2027?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is absolutely right. It is to continue or to remove the expiration of Measure U. If Measure H does not pass, it continues till 2027. If you remember, it's from 2017 to 2027,
Right.
10 years.
And at that July 12th meeting, and I'm just paraphrasing, but I heard Stephen Graham, I think is his name, the city attorney, talked about the restrictions that the city placed upon themselves, for Measure U to go to public safety. He said it's actually just a general use tax that could be used for any purpose. So is Measure H going to be used for public safety or for just any?
But I think that, and correct me if I'm wrong, JP, I think that's going to be up to the council because these are resolutions that they decide to use it for other purposes. It can be. And, but I think the sole purpose is that right now is to get rid of, and that's to maintain Measure U. But I can't, to answer your question, I can't determine years down the line if that's going to be decided by a council vote to get rid of it. But this is actually to continue Measure U to get rid of the expiration. I don't know what the future will bring, but remember, these are resolutions.
Right.
And
They
resolutions,
could be written into Measure H.
They could be rescinded or.
yeah, they can be resent. But
Okay.
hopefully I'm answering your question. The focus of Measure H is to just remove the expiration. What happens after that? I mean, I don't know if you want my opinion on funding and what the city needs to do and what we've done in the past. If you think about our resource and what we say about, we pay internal services charges for everything that we do. And that's to maintain our vehicles. Chief Sell mentioned about that. So we pay those internal services. If you look at a lot of that goes into different departments here. Because we have our maintenance crew that handles that, and we have to pay those to maintain our vehicles
Right.
and things like that. In the police department, we pay for our ROX 200, which are maintenance aides. They go and pick up after our ROX team, our sworn officers, because I don't need my sworn officers to pick up the debris and trash that's left behind. So we pay for that, which it commingles as well, but those are directly related. And keep in mind, and this is easy for me to swallow because I've been here and I know that when we had Measure U, our perception, it was $10 million for 10
Right.
years.
Mhm.
Last year was 15 million, and I think that was conservative. I think the numbers at the end of this month, we'll get our next quarter evaluation of the last fiscal year, and we'll probably be over 16. This is just my educated guess. Even with that, you're talking about 16 million that we didn't even predict. And if we want this city to move forward, we need to really look at enhancing a lot of things in different departments. While if you do the math, I think public safety is still getting above 10 million. And that makes it easier to swallow for the future. And that's just me thinking out loud when things come up and people ask those questions. I could still move forward. You know, as a police chief, yeah, I'd love to have, you know, every penny of it, but as something that really has to think about how do we move forward, and we talk about collaboration. We talk about partnership. We talk about the city moving forward together. I think it needs to be used in those areas that it needs to be used while maintaining our public safety where we need it. We have a lot of innovative ways that we want to do things, and that's not reducing things at all. It's just moving forward. But we have to enhance other areas as well. And we work together. I mean, working with public works, working with code enforcement, those things those are part of the tools. We can't do it ourselves. And I think using the funding, if that's a decision later on, it should be used for things that are gonna move the whole city forward.
Okay, but we're not talking about street repairs or something like that.
And
As far as you know.
This is just, you know, being involved with Measure U, knowing what our focus was for 10 years, knowing what we need to do as a city. I'm putting my city manager hat on.
Yeah.
Moving forward, there's a lot we have to do. There's a lot of things that we need to be more efficient. And it's gonna take those other things, but this extra funding is gonna bring more businesses into this valley and more development. We've grown, everyone says over 85, we're over 90,000.
Wow.
We're over 90,000. And that's where we're at. So I don't know what the decision is down the line, but this is just to get rid of the expiration. Totally to get rid of the expiration. This is not an added tax.
Right.
And I look at a lot of things too, is we're talking about 8.75%. I do my research, Riverside County, there's only 3 or 4 other cities that are 7.75. Everybody's at 8.75. I don't know if I could point out city, I won't say any names, but there's some cities in the desert, one has a 2 or 3 that are 9.25%. Okay, go further than that. We're usually 5 to 10 years behind LA. They're at 10.75, some 11%. Look at Irwindale, look at Duarte, look at all of LA County. They're all in the 10s. So if you don't believe that's coming out here, that's coming out here. So to maintain our services of what we have now at 8.75, which every other city in Riverside County is 8.75. This is not advocating for increased sales tax. This is maintaining. But what the council decides to bring this city forward in the future by maintaining the services of public safety and enhancing other areas, that's going to be all up to them and their decision on the resolution. But I kind of take that global look at what's going on in Southern California. What are people paying? Because there's a lot of things going on. Development is just incredible out here. You see it. It's increased, and we're no longer this small town. You know?
Okay, so in past conversations we've had, people would ask about, you know, getting more police and bringing more police in and not having as many people apply out here, right? So the way I see it, and I don't know if you see it, but if you take that expiration off, do you think that then that is gonna open up for more people to then go, okay, there's no expiration on that money. So now that that's off, that is going to open up your workforce for more people to then want to apply, because it's a guarantee. That money's doesn't have the potential to go away. And the way people view it is, 10 years, but if I go out there and I apply for a job and in 3 years that money goes away, and they're saying, well, then we're going to have to cut half the force, and I'm new, then that means me, right? So that means you're not going to get a lot of people to then want to come out here to apply for jobs. But if you took that off completely, don't you think that would then bring more people out to want to apply?
Committee member Darrell, you should be sitting in my shoes, even bringing this up. This is always a fear of mine. The way that this is presented among my troops now and among the fire department. Because now you're bringing up, if we don't pass this, it's doom and gloom. And you're right. That's, we have to move past this. We got to move past that, but you're absolutely right. I think about that. And I believe that to be factual, because this is stable. We're stable, we're moving forward. You're
Right.
absolutely right.
I mean, I see it as it can only be nothing but a positive.
Yes.
I mean, you guys, this is like the only committee I've ever been on, but I'm not I don't sit around and think about this all day long,
Yeah.
But I see it as that if there was an expiration date on it, that keeps a lot of people from even considering moving. But we are building homes out here. I mean, we just built off of Johnson and out there off of Stedman and all those homes out there, and the prices are high. But if people don't see that there's not going to be jobs, or other police or firemen that want to move out here and want to move their families out here, but can't take that risk of coming because of that clause, I just see it nothing but a positive. And I see the negative of people talking about it and saying, but the money's not being used for what it was intended to be used for. However, it is. However, if we took that expiration date off, there's so much more that could happen, and just so many more people could come here. And I would like, going forward, to you guys being in a more of a, you talk and you speak a lot more, to hit on that look at what it's opening up. It's not that we need the money, but look at the potential of the people that would come here and choose to come here. And that's all I see that it's doing. Keeping it, we have 5 years until that happens, but look what we could do in 5 years. If they knew that in 5 years there wasn't going to be, I don't know why I keep wanting to call it a sundown clause. I don't know why that, but yeah,
Sunset clause.
it goes down either way.
Yeah.
But I see that so much more you could do in the 5 years coming up to that right now, and being able to talk that up now, and people thinking about that now, because it takes 2 years, 3 years for people to move and sell and, want to come and make those decisions and move their family. By the time then that expiration date is off, we're already ahead of the game. We're already into the next where you're not scrambling.
Yeah.
And that's just the way I see it. I know.
Need to head up the 8.
I'm already being asked to be on my HOA committee, and I'm like, I don't know, Mama.
I think we think about that all the time, because we're all of us sitting here, we're not gonna make a decision on uncertainty. And you
Right,
want that,
no.
you want that removed, so there's no uncertainty.
Yeah, exactly. So no one's gonna move their family out. You can say, yes, I had 150 people apply, and then 70 of those people dropped off right away. But you don't know how many of those 70 dropped off because they went home and told their wife, well, it's a risk, but and the wife's like, I'm not ready to take that risk. So that includes part of those people that then drop off right in the beginning, and the ones that are at the end. I'm not saying they're old, but they could be the ones that are like, well, in 5 years, if it drops off and I could retire. So I'm good. So let's make the move. We invest. And then, if it does go away, then I'll retire or I'll take that chance. Right. But you've got a very slim group that will take that chance. But if you take it off, oh my gosh, all these new kids, all these young new families that want to move out here and want to do this it's just opening up for them. And I know I've come off a lot lately, in the past it's like negative and and I get up at the city council meetings and talk about I've changed. So being more positive and looking at this in a more positive way and approaching it in that way of look what we could do if we did take the sunset clause off. And so hopefully, because it's already starting. I mean,
Yes.
it's already spinning out there. It is. And it's like 5 years, out and it's already spinning. So I'd like to go into it as a positive and say it that way as a positive, as look what we could do if we did take it off, the potential.
And Chief, those other cities that you've talked about that have something similar, they don't have sunset clauses, do they? I don't know of any other
No.
cities that do.
No, and if you recall, at the time that we passed ours, it must have been a year after Marino had a sunset clause on there, but I think they got a different measure the following year, because remember, they lost a third of their contract with the sheriff's department at that time.
Yeah.
And that was a year prior. But all the other cities around us, once we passed ours, a lot of them went with the permanent. Obviously some are different, designated differently, and but yeah, no, I have to agree with committee member Derwin. It's it's positive.
Well, I mean, if that's their biggest complaint, right? Their biggest complaint is we don't have enough policemen. We don't have enough, our fire department, and their trucks, and we don't have enough. But if you were to take that off, you could. And that's the word, is that you could have enough.
Yeah.
And so why are you not using it into the positive of if we were able to take this off and you were voting this out and people would get behind it to see that it could happen, and then you could get what you want, and you can get all those policemen. This is a way to do it. This is the only way to do it, because sure, for 5 years, they're going to sit and go, whoa, we don't have enough policemen. We don't have enough policemen. Yep, you're right. And if you're going to sit there and you're still going to say that at the end of 5 years, we're still not going to have enough. So to take it off, I only see a positive in that.
And just understand, we could only provide facts and educate everybody, and that's up to the advocacy. Excuse me.
Advocacy group, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Advocacy. So I don't know what's wrong with my tongue today. So anyways, that's their job to go out there and promote it. But our job is to provide the facts and what has it done for us. And it has increased a lot of service that we didn't have in the past that we're providing today. But I do agree. I understand where you're coming from, and it's not a increase in tax. It's just to get rid of the expirations. So
It's going to stay the same. I mean, people are going to shop no matter what. People are going to spend no matter what. So you're saving that 1 cent. So in 5 years, you're going to get that 1 penny back. Really? I mean, nobody notices that, but they'll go out and pay $6 for a gallon of gas. Complain about it, but they'll still buy it.
Yeah, and to your point, and that's why we're working really hard to make sure that, not only are we here to share, the Measure U highlights, but obviously enhance our services, right? So people understand the value that they're getting from public safety.
Yeah.
Right, and I think, I think we're doing a much better job of that now, and I can only speak for my time here, but I know the chief and the department have been doing great. JP came from other municipalities, so we know what it should look like, right? And so that's kind of the good news is that we only have one way to go, right? So, I think that's the other point in this too.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I don't know who's part of the team that's writing it. But if there's a way, as a suggestion, I see. My big mouth got into it with a few people in
No.
social media. No,
No, really?
my co-chair.
Oh, yeah. I saw that.
But, there's that faction of. We won't support it because we don't think the money was used the right way. And that faction is needing educating.
Yeah.
But there's a big faction, I believe, also that are the type that'll be voters, that if H could incorporate and codify the resolutions, so it's not, the voter isn't saying, okay, I'll approve this and pray that the city council puts those resolutions back in. Where measure H could actually codify and have those resolutions say, incorporated into it, I think would go a long way in getting some of those people that are sitting on the fence.
Are you meaning ensuring that the money remains with
Mhm.
fire and police?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because.
Because that would be my concern too.
Yeah.
I mean, I would want it to remain there.
That's my
Uh-huh.
concern. Mhm.
I mean, trust me, my street needs paved right
Yeah.
now. I got potholes all over, but I want my money to go to police and
Mhm.
fire
Yeah,
for this.
because every time we get a city manager, not a city manager, I'm sorry. City attorneys say, oh, by the way, council members, remember, this is a general tax. You can use it however you want. That's why I say codify it,
Yeah.
codify those resolutions, make them permanent within measure H. It'll go a long way to selling it.
And I just have to explain this, and I know that our city attorney, Stephen Graham's on the line, but just so you're aware, this is a specific measure to get rid of the sunset clause. Everything states is in place, but that's what it's for. And correct me if I'm wrong, JP, but you're looking more towards a specific tax, which takes more of a vote. This is just focusing on Measure U and not going back to the citizens that ask, hey, we want 1% special tax for public safety alone. And but I know what you're saying,
Mhm.
because you got to realize that resolutions are in place, and that resolution is still in place. It's just to remove that expiration.
Mhm. I just don't think there's a lot of people out there that don't trust that the resolutions will stay.
Yeah.
Because they
And
have,
it's political suicide, in my opinion, for the council to get rid of the resolutions, but it's possible.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
and I understand, I think, was it your question, why are we doing this now, 5 years ahead? If this is the way it's done, wasn't there 2 votes to get Measure U passed? I
Yes.
wasn't here when it was done.
Yes.
So the first, so this time around, if it's Measure H and the only thing is to make it permanent, and that's it. If it doesn't pass, then I can't remember the exact time. Is it 2 years? Then you could bring it back for a vote again, but there has to be a little bit of a change
Mhm.
in the wording.
Yeah.
That gives that time. So it makes sense to do it now 5 years before. I
Well,
just
and
wish there was a
budgeting.
way.
If it doesn't pass, then you have 5 years to then kind of rescape what you've got going, you're gonna ask for more money because you're a big grant guy and you're gonna, and you just are gonna just retweak what you're doing to make sure that if it is coming to the end of 5 years and you know that and you're aware of it, then they're gonna be able to already know, okay, this is what I've got to work with. This is where it's gonna go. And that way, at the end of 5 years, it's not like, bam, we're back to, 3 police.
If the attorney's on the phone, then, I mean, I'm curious, because if he said it, that's what they said, he's on the phone. right?
Yes.
Yeah.
If
Hi,
he-
can you hear me? This is your city attorney, Steve Graham. Can you hear me?
Okay,
Hi,
okay.
Steve.
Can you just help bring clarification to that point
Sure.
that we're talking about?
I thought you guys were having a very robust discussion. I didn't want to just insert it. And, as JP said, the city attorney says it's a general tax and everyone kind of rolls their eyes at me. The truth is that's what Measure U is. It is a general tax. The restrictions on its expenditure are set by the city council. They set those by the 2 resolutions that the Measure U committee is well familiar with. And it is true that the city council is the body that can change those restrictions. They've not indicated any intent or desire to do so. And obviously you've talked about the political implications if they do. I'm sure they're equally aware of that dynamic. But to the question about, can Measure H codify those restrictions? At this time, the answer is no, it can't. The language of Measure H has already been submitted by the city council to the county. And the only change to the Measure U ordinance that was submitted was a removal of the expiration date of the sunset clause. Every other word of Measure U was left exactly as it is. If the city council were to codify the restrictions that are in those resolutions into the tax itself, that would transform the tax from a general tax to a special tax, which would increase the voting requirement from a majority or 50% plus 1 to a 2/3 majority. And my understanding is no special tax has passed in Riverside County in the last 3 decades. So, and I believe that the city of Hemet may have tried to do that before Measure U passed. And so that's the calculation that they have. I think that the city council would love to have a tax that has that those resolutions incorporated within it. It would make life a lot simpler. But I don't think that there's any belief that 2/3 of any Democratic group can agree on anything. And so it would be unlikely to pass. At this point, there is no language in the Measure H that will change the restrictions that are contained in those resolutions. The only verbiage that is changing is the sunset clause. Everything else is remaining exactly the same, including the Measure U committee, including your committee. Your role and your existence are intended to remain exactly the same going forward. So I hope that helps. I know that you guys were having a pretty robust discussion, and I hate to dump a bunch of cold water on it.
No, we appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That
Thank you.
helped greatly.
And real quick to answer committee member Darrell's question regarding, at the end of the term, let's say, we're gonna just drop things out. And I think I explained this last time. We have that fund balance that we have, and keep in mind, at the initiation of Measure U, we had that fund balance that rolled over for that reason. In 2018, they implemented a reserve, which now I think that's the big question there. We said, why do we have a reserve? Why do we have this fund balance? That reserve was not there initially. Only the general fund had a reserve. And then, the direction, it is like the attorney said, it is a general fund tax. And that was the perception that was brought to the table to make that reserve. But initially that wasn't in place. So now we're dealing with, people say, well, you have this funding there. So, but that funding is specifically used for certain things. And I have to be a good steward and make sure that and the police department as well as the fire department that we spent on those things, those were boots on the ground personnel, things like that. It wasn't to build a new, high-tech police department, which we're fine with the one we have right now, or things that we didn't need at the time. But that was a rollover, and then we ended up, my previous or the previous chief here, he had to deal with those two things, which was a big question. So we have a reserve, and then we had this funding that rolled over that we stopped doing that because we now have that reserve. But until we hire those people, that's gonna still be there. Which, it's gotta be used, and it's gotta be approved by this committee. So yeah, we plan for that, absolutely. I would hate to see something like that happen, and just what the outcome would be. So that is a concern, and that's something that we always have to look forward. I mean, I need to start looking at that now and make sure that, hey, we're sustainable and we can provide service. So hopefully that answers your question regarding that.
You used the good word sustainable. I haven't seen the ballot yet, but I've been told there's a move for annexation of areas.
I've seen that.
Have you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what that's
Um,
about.
Money wise, no Measure U in 5 years, but we annex this large area. It's not like there's much industry in that area and all that. Is that an extreme hit possible then, even worse as far as to be able to give services?
I'm trying to see if I answer that when our agenda is talking about Measure U. I hear the same thing, but there's a lot of other things involved with an annexation. But as a police chief running a public service agency, police department, the fire chief, we have to make sure we can provide those services.
Yeah.
And make sure, that the fire chief will say, hey, we have response times.
Yeah.
We gotta be able to respond, because we're on the hook, and those are things that we look at, but those are decisions out of our control regarding, Measure U and if it continues or not. But yet the services have to be here to take over such a large annexation as that.
That's just a worry of mine that
Yeah.
that annexation like that would just eat up all your Measure U and stuff.
But everything we do as development comes in, different complexes, large apartment complex, different county facilities that come in. It's our job as the chiefs to make sure that we can provide adequate services to that and what we can do. So, that's the first thing that comes to mind when they talk about that. In fact, we've diligently been working on just looking at what, I'm not going to wait till things happen. I gotta look at what are those calls that for service out there, what is going to be recommended if something like that happens. Services will have to increase no matter what, even where we're at now.
Well, especially when you've got all the homes coming over by McSweeney, like Lion and elk and all that. I mean, but all of that generates revenue too. It's all generating
But not-
taxes and revenue, but
Calls for
it's more
services.
taxing on the services. So we're gonna have to increase.
Your revenue from housing is
Minimum.
no way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm
even
just thinking
close
of
to what
all I mean, you
your
have
retail
taxes
is.
for everything and all those families moving in are gonna generate, they're gonna be spending in our community
Sales
also.
Yes.
So sales tax, I'm just saying it's a give and take. I mean, they're gonna generate, but then we have to provide services. I don't see any way I think we're gonna have to continue with Measure U
Oh, yeah.
regardless. I
I'm
don't
just,
see how we would be able to provide the services. I mean, I like to look at the positive too, but in reality, 15 million is a lot and we would have to reduce and we don't want to go that way.
But people want to, they want more boots on the ground and that's what their complaint is. But let's get rid of Measure U because they see that as not working for them, but that's not accomplishing what they want and what they're asking for. It's, so then you get nothing. So then you don't get the extra boots on the ground because you're now taking that away because they're claiming it wasn't used what it was meant to be used for. So let's take it away, but that's not giving them what they want
Well, the
anyway.
problem with that is then they're gonna lose a lot of services.
Right,
I mean,
Yes.
we were
exactly.
We were in a negative when we brought in the Measure U and we would go back.
And
to-
so then they still have the same complaint that they did when they started. So nothing really changed. So it's why take that away when it is moving forward and it is getting momentum, and why stop that momentum right when it could hit, like I said, where you guys are like ready. So if it's approved, then you're ready to just keep moving forward instead of having to worry about when it's gonna, or if it's gonna come to an end and what are we gonna do then? And then prepare all of your people for, well, it might. Nobody likes to live on a might, I
I
might.
got laid off because of that exact issue.
Right,
I had one kid and one on the way and I got a layoff notice. I beat it by 2 days.
but it's,
But that,
I would
Stress.
rather, we would have more going on if we knew going forward that it was going to continue. And so they could see that there were more people and they could see that policemen were being hired and they could see that there's more boots on the ground. But being in that limbo, constantly, sure, there's always going to be an argument. Well, we don't have enough. Well, no, we don't have enough because, there's a sunset clause and nobody wants to come in on that. And why that was even made to begin with is beyond me, because I think San Jacinto was watching us and they just voted in some kind of 1% tax in San Jacinto just this past year. So they wanted to see how it went, and since it went okay and they saw that we were generating a lot more money than it said it was gonna, hey, let's jump on board with that. So now they're in it too. I don't know if they put a sunset clause on theirs, but now they are charging that 1%.
Yeah.
So it has gone positive, and I think, there was a lot of negative about it and a lot of money moving around, but I think since the organization's gotten a little better and we don't have somebody sitting here telling us how they thought what we said was what we
Yes.
thought. In a nice way of
Sorry.
saying that, but I think it just has gone more to a transparent, positive, and we can thank you for that. And
I
thank
appreciate you
for that.
putting the real
Yeah.
numbers.
Yeah.
That's very helpful.
Yeah, we're not fluffing it.
I owe it to you, and there's nothing to hide. I mean, we need to be transparent.
I think even though you don't have an increase right at the moment in safety, you've found new and innovative ways to still get a lot of work done, both police and fire. And I think there should be a real emphasis on that, plus what Mary Ann has been
Yeah.
talking about too, about, eliminating the sunset clause, what a, positive that would be for, I think, for recruitment.
Yeah, I do too. I do too. I see it.
Retention is the real biggie.
Well, I think the
Yeah.
facts that they plan on
Yeah.
providing to the community is gonna be
Yeah.
important. They'll be able to see
Right.
all this stuff.
that word is so important here, sustainability.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very true in this case, very true. Right?
Yes.
So it's kind of like you almost need both in order to have the boots on the ground, right? Obviously, so you guys picked up on all that, so we're grateful, yeah.
and there's not much we can do about the social political atmosphere of being a cop or not being the population in general, it's we can do anything about, but that so you don't have a possible, pink slip coming to you, hanging over your head.
Right, yeah, nobody wants it. Well, I can speak because I just got a promotion. But
Well, And part of this too, and I appreciate your comments on recognizing that the organization is improving, right? We can always improve. So word starts getting out, right? And so when we wonder like, whoa, we're starting to get more applicants, why? Word starts getting out that the organization is more effective, things are happening, people are
Upward
communicating.
Yeah.
Right.
Mobility.
I mean, that's what starts happening, right? There's a, like an old, it's like, phone a friend, phone a fireman, like they just, the rumor mill, right? But much like bad news, good news spreads too.
Yeah.
And they
Right.
start saying, "Hey, have you heard what Hammond's doing? And then all of a sudden people take another look. So, we have that in our favor too. I truly believe that.
Yeah, I think with Hemet and San Jacinto, because I've never really found where that line is. That like this side of the street is San Jacinto and this side of the street is Hemet. I don't know. But I see us as one, really. That as long as, San Jacinto is building and they've been putting a lot of businesses in and they waited and now they've got, they're mirroring us. I mean, I don't think we really needed a Sonic on the other side of town. I'm just saying, but we are kind of one unit. I see it all the time because my work is right behind the San Jacinto Police Station. So I see them come in and out all day. They meet in our parking lot when they do the stings. They, the gang sting and all that, they meet there. So I see a lot of that. And I see a lot of where, like you were saying, Marietta and Menifee and all that, they all come together. And so why not use other resources? If it's all there, we may not have enough, our fire department goes to other cities and helps them when their whole city is burning down. We send trucks. That means that they're taking the risk of us being, a little on the lean side when we have something going on in our town, but we're all willing to help everyone. And so the money is yes, but we all do, if we all work together and then we can help. So then we don't have to have, I don't want to say we don't have to have money, but we don't have to have, all these people complaining, like I said, the gang task force, other towns come in, so they help. And that helps us and that keeps us safe and that keeps us. And I don't think a lot of our residents see it. They just don't. All they see is what's walking on the street.
Yeah.
All they see is what they've heard. All they see is what they read in, Hemet News. And so if you want to just read that and you want to just look at that, then yeah, I get depressed too and think, what am I doing? Why did I move here from Orange County? So, but I think if we can try to retrain the way of thinking and have people see Hemet as more of a look what we can offer you, not the bad parts, but look what we can offer and look at what we're coming to you with, then I think we have a really good chance of being one of those cities, where people go, oh yeah, Hemet, I'm thinking of buying a house there. Not, oh yeah, Hemet.
Oh, yeah, they're all excited about Raising Cane's, and then there's this big social media thing about Raising Cane's versus Chick-fil-A. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, and like that fire what was it? What was that building? right
Long
there?
John Silver's?
Yes, and I thought it was in my neighborhood because like I said about the fire thing.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to comment because I was like, God, there's a house on fire and it's like the next block over. But had I known that it was actually down the street and way down the street, I wouldn't have freaked out as much.
I think the community involvement too.
Yeah.
Of both police and fire, going out to the various mobile home parks
Yep.
and various communities. I think that really helps too.
Yep.
I hear from Hemet West and Seven Hills, and I haven't heard from Four Seasons, so I think you need to make it up there.
Yeah, we've been there a couple times, actually. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Oh, well, of course, with
Yeah.
Russ Brown living out there, but
Yep.
anyway.
They're just missing a store and none of them would even have to leave there. It's like Pleasantville, like you wouldn't even have to leave. All you
In
need is a
fact,
grocery
There
store.
was probably, I don't know, close to 100 people in
Oh, yeah,
that. That was a packed house.
I'm out there a lot, but I don't live
Yeah.
there.
That was good.
I have a lot of
Yeah,
friends.
but you said a lot of good things, and things that we're understanding that we need to improve on, and that's our community engagement.
Mhm.
We see it, they want to hear what's going on. And like I gave that example with the business group, we have to go out there and provide them with all the information. What are they getting? A lot of people don't know what type of services we have. And just to go over even the simple stuff that we talk about our programs, and we didn't even go in depth what each program consists of.
Yeah.
And they don't know that. They don't know that we have, you know, a SWAT team, that we have a traffic bureau, that we have these different bureaus to assist them in all the needs, and shame on us for not taking advantage of that years ago. But we're at a day and age where it's simple. I mean, these are things that we could communicate, and like I told you before, it's changing that narrative. And I always say, I point to my Facebook page for the police department. We changed that narrative.
Yeah.
I could post negative things every day, but that's everywhere. You turn on the TV, you're going to see the same thing you see in a different city. That's happening here, but it's happening everywhere. So what are we doing positive with collaboration with faith-based organization? That's important. Going out there and engaging, building these partnerships, working collaboratively with different agencies. That's what's great. And I think in Riverside County, we have great cities that work together. We have in the county and in the city level and at the DA's office, we're all working together. And because it's one job, there's, criminals and fires don't have any boundaries or city limits. So we have to work together if we want to accomplish our goals. So, but everything that she said, you're on track. I mean, it's important for us. It's important for this community.
Yeah, it really is. And I think we're far enough out of LA and far enough away from a big city for it to really impact us as far as the homeless and the encampments and we don't see that. I know, I work out in Banning now, and they took, those little homes and they had that fire over a year ago. Well, then they started that encampment on the 10, and they just took all that out, and they thought, well, since those people were already living there on the side of the freeway, they just put all those little modular homes there. So now there's a whole community there. They have tables with umbrellas and they have all that. And so they're now living there. And so they've helped them to get their homeless, back on track and because they really had nowhere to go. But we could also do something like that here. And I think that's what they're trying to do down at the end of state. And for some reason, everybody kind of is, in an uproar about, oh, we don't want, it could become unsafe, or we don't want the homeless, in our neighborhood. Well, they have to go somewhere. And if they're not going to be, you don't want them in your neighborhood, but really look around, they are, so you can just turn away and not see them, but they're there. So that I think moving forward with the homeless and giving them a place to go, or at least an option, is also something to, as far as what Hemet needs to do next. And I know that's on our 5-year plan of trying to help us get them somewhere. We've already started with CityNet, and I think that's doing awesome. The numbers are going down. Yeah. Did you see that for July? The numbers are going down. So it is working. We just need, for those few that need housing to go somewhere.
Yeah.
But I really do. I really believe, and I really think that the two of you coming in has really made a huge difference in how people are now viewing him. I mean, it was a good old boy, mentality. And I think that we had to get out of that, and we're getting out of that. And I hope that people are seeing that now as it's a positive, and not it's just staying the same, because we don't want to stay the same. We want to grow and have people come. And I'm hoping.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot has to do is we've always had support from our community, from our business owners, from the council, especially. They supported us through the strategic plan, gave us a vision, they gave us a focus. And I think they're continuing. They're always out there. I think we have probably the most aggressive council out there. So we have a support all the way around. And I thank you for your support. I just want to make sure that we provide this information to this group first, for your time that you put in, your volunteer time that you put into this. and the decisions and approvals that you've given us in the past. So it's important that you're involved. So I should have done this earlier. Things are busy right now. But next time I'll keep that in mind that, any type of major changes, which I think this is a big change. I'll bring this to the table first and make sure that you're aware instead of hearing it from somewhere else or some other place.
Politics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, all I can say is just keep up the PR stunt. I mean, it's
Yeah.
great seeing it, reading about it, hearing about it. And really promoting how Measure U is being used correctly,
Mhm.
because there are those on social media who are still do not understand how it has been and it is being used correctly. They've been spreading disinformation about the monies being used to balance the budget. And it's like, no, if that happened, there'd be people in jail with the audits.
Yes.
So just keep it up. It's working.
Well, to be.
It gives the
They
information.
did
It's
use
1 year.
some of
But
it. They
recently-
did.
During COVID.
During
Yeah,
COVID, but
yeah,
recently,
yeah.
correct, it's being used
Yeah, no,
correctly.
now it is. Yeah, now it is. But I mean, to
Yeah.
be, in all fairness, he did use 1.2 million
Yes.
to help balance that out. And then he,
Everybody did.
yeah,
Everybody did.
yeah.
But it is being used correctly.
It is starting now for people to be seeing how
Yeah.
it is being.
If they can
used.
see it,
Yeah.
they see it. And,
Right.
and that's what's good.
You can't argue the
You can't.
facts.
You really
just
can't.
argue the facts.
And just real quick to that point, and that's why we're gonna do everything in our power to continue involving the community like we did at the engine push-in ceremony. Like we did at the fire training center groundbreaking, right? We want the community to embrace and see the Measure U, changes and all the things we're doing. So just wanted to add that. So thank you.
Yeah, and the morale in both departments has increased, which
Certainly
is
seems like it. Thank you so much.
happy
Both of you.
employees, that it's good. It's very good. It just rubs off on everyone else.
And thank you both
Yeah.
for the updates and especially for the update on the new measure. I
Yeah.
feel much better now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a little piece of good news. So just we do have our recruitment and retention issues that we keep dealing with, right? But so we had a firefighter paramedic that left us about 4.5 months ago and went to Orange County Fire,
Mhm.
right? And so it's hard to fault them for that, right?
Yeah.
It's a bigger department, there's more money, et cetera, et cetera. Well, he actually just came in to visit me on Monday and he asked if he could come back. He misses
Yay.
Emmett. And we're gonna receive him with open arms because I got a spot.
Yes, I'm excited for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, see that there is part of what I was saying. If it's all here, build it and they will come.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're trying to do. And just seeing the two departments getting along and not, going up there and backstabbing makes a big difference. And it really changes the way other people then are going to view it because, you take two big departments and if you guys are able to merge and be able to get along, then people are going to be like, well, then I don't know what the problem is. There's no problem. I just don't really see a problem anymore. I think what I started coming to the meetings to complain about, well, there's still a problem with water. But what I was getting involved in and complaining about and having issues with, I don't have that anymore. I don't feel the need to go there and go, oh, this is a pressing matter and I'm gonna say something about this. The only thing as a city manager, I do have a problem with is that you just invited EMWD to come and talk about water and what they are offering and what they're giving out to kill your grass. And you didn't invite Hemet Water District and you didn't invite Hemet Lake Water District. And because we, for whatever reason, have 3 water districts in this town and I have Hemet Water. And I know that we have a little bit of a surplus of money in our account because our bills just keep going up and what are we doing? And EMWD came and talked about what they're doing and how they're, using their money and part of my water bill does go to EMWD. So I was like, I would like to talk about that. So,
Okay, Mary Ann.
After.
That's not on-
But I was talking to the
on our
city
agenda.
manager, not the police chief.
Yeah, that's not on our agenda.
I know,
Should I,
but it was bothering me and I had to get it.
Small request.
pardon?
I just have one small request. We talked about some of the teams that are department. If there's a way that if you just make a quick list of those, and if you could, I'd be really interested in it because I got a call the other night. Last Friday night. In fact, I even witnessed it. There was a foot pursuit out on the main drag over by Palm, I think it was. And I got a call later that next day. Hey, why was there CHP, Hammett PD, this and that, all chasing this guy? And it was great.
Yeah.
It was, and I had to stop because I almost flattened the CHP officer because he just come running right in front of me. But it was great. Everybody got to see it. But there had to have been at least 5. I figured it was gang task force.
Yeah, we run 2 teams and we supervise. We supervise gang task force, which has CHP, Oversight sheriffs, and then we have HPD as well. And then we have our PAC team that we supervise here in the valley. And we have our sergeant, Banning, Beaumont, Marietta, Menifee, CHP, and then 2 RSO agents on there and a probation officer.
So that's probation, parole, sex offender.
Probation, because that's our from PRCS, so that's probation funded,
Uh-huh.
the PAC team. That's our central team that handle all PRCS. So so you guys understand what that is, on 109 back in the day, the funding for a release of prisoners went back to the counties, so no longer, if they were nonviolent, they released them from prison, they'd send them back to the county, but they're not on parole. We call it post-release accountability, and that's what we did. So PRCS and those teams were developed to do compliance checks on them and make sure that they're following the law while they're on PRCS. So we have 2 teams we supervise in the valley, but PAC usually works in different areas because it's that resource multiplier. So, but I could give you a list of all the teams that we have.
That'd be great. Yeah, the guy that called me he was excited because of what he saw. He must have been a couple cars away from me, but excited that it existed and he didn't know about it.
Yeah.
So,
And a lot of things we do when we talk about gangs, it doesn't, they cross the city limits. So we have a Hammett Station sheriff on their deputy, and we have a San Jacinto assigned a deputy. So they're working the whole valley. And we have a sergeant and an officer on that team that we supervise. So they're out there all the time, and CHP as well. So it's nice to have that collaboration. And it's a resource multiplier. And I can't even say how beneficial it is to everybody here.
you had a motor there that day. I remember a guy with a helmet on running in between everybody too.
You just need to stay on the motorcycle and do your job.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't think we have any more, or do we have any more committee member comments? I think we've had plenty of comments. Okay, do we have any future agenda items? Okay, next meeting to be determined, and we have a motion to adjourn.
I move to.
Second,
I'll second.
okay. I'll say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank
It
you.
was nice to have everybody here.
Yes.